Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Trayman, and we're back after like 2 or 3 weeks. We're back with this series, this amazing series. Oh man, this building's all messed up. We are here to fill in more blocks, get more done in this beautiful town of ours, and maybe make some more strides towards finishing this area and moving on. So, of course, the most important thing is to get these areas here done, to get these areas of houses and stuff all squared away and wrapped up. So, that, as you might expect, is what we're going to try to do today. Although I would like to work on some other things, this does take priority. So let's get this squared away. Now, I don't have any comments this week, unfortunately. I gave you guys 3 weeks to leave comments, but nobody did. So I'll just be flying on my own here today, which is fine because I have plenty to talk about. In between car stuff and house stuff and all sorts of fun stories from my past couple of weeks, and a really interesting idea that just sort of happened to come to pass. That it's a really sort of niche thing, which, obviously I'm not a game designer anyway. It would never come to fruition, but I had an idea, right? And I'm thinking about this, and so I just sat down to work on the route here after a couple of weeks. And the first thing that crossed my mind was, we don't have any trees down yet. Of course, the reason we don't have any trees down is because I don't like to place trees during regular videos, because it could induce a game crash, and I don't want to do that while I'm recording. So, I avoid planting trees for that very reason. But when you have the whole world without trees, but you're going to come back and add trees later, it's sort of funny to think about. Like, it's almost like a model railroad where you just haven't gone out and bought more trees yet. Everything's here except for the trees. I just need to go out. I need to go run down the street to the hobby shop and buy another pack of trees, and then we'll be able to continue. And then I thought about, that's really kind of interesting. What if there was a game which was a simulator like this, but you're building your route, but you do have to get all the stuff for it. Obviously, buying it through microtransactions because it's produced by EA. Now, what if... That's not what I clicked on at all. What if, instead of, just having all this stuff available, you had to go and you had to buy the stuff. You had to get the stuff. But in order to make that money, you had to have things that ran on your route. So it would be sort of like a mix between a normal simulator like this where you're building your route, but at the same time you are trying to make the money to build the world. It'd be really kind of weird. It would be a really interesting crossover, and I don't think it would fly with a lot of people, but it is the kind of thing that just sort of crossed my mind as something that could be kind of, unique and amusing. So, think about it like this. So, I'm trying to build this railroad here, but when I load up the game for the first time, I have my gray baseboard, and I have X amount of fictitious currency, simoleons, space bucks, whatever, train dollars, Shroot bucks, Stanley nickel, excuse me, that sort of stuff, anything. I have an amount. I have an amount of money, and so I use that to start building stuff. I build an industry. I build a couple industries, a producer and consumer. I build some railroad track, whatever. And then I buy a train, and I place the train down. And then I just sort of let it run, right? And then I have to program it just like you would program anything in trains. So you open up the window, you give it a driver, you go through the programming process, and then it will go out and do its own thing, and it'll run its route. And it'll make you more money. And I feel like, right, it could be influenced by the straight line distance between the beginning point and the ending point, but it could also be influenced by the height difference, so you're encouraged to build like diverse routes and stuff like that. And of course, the AI itself is its own thing. Once you start getting areas that are kind of built up, then you make it more and more difficult to build up more, especially with AI being the way it is. So it encourages you to learn that kind of stuff and to test that kind of stuff out. So you build some areas, and then you make money based off of what what you deliver. Maybe not necessarily what you deliver. Maybe you can deliver whatever you want, but having different commodities. Basically, there'd be bonuses for doing things that are diverse, I guess is the right word. So, if you have a setup and you're only moving coal, then you're still going to make lots of money if it's a lot of coal, but you'd get more if you happen to also move coal and passengers. So you get a multiplier on for different kinds of commodities. And as well, you get a multiplier for things, destinations and stuff being in the same area. And so obviously, you don't have to make it make sense. You don't have to make it overly realistic. You're here because you want to build a route in this hypothetical game world. You're here because you want to build a route, mostly. And you want to build a world. And, eventually there'll come a point where you have basically unlimited funds. You can do whatever you want. But until then, your trains are making, your trains are making money for you as they go and do their runs. The other thing that, that occurs, and of course you can run them yourself if you want to. The other thing that occurs to me is, well, what if you made it so that new tiles cost increasingly more, and maybe negated the bonus of having stuff close together, but instead you're disincentivized from making an absurd sized route, or you are rather incentivized for making more stuff. You're incentivized to run more trains and stuff like that because your route tiles get more and more and more expensive. I don't know. This is, wholly based off of just like the train's engine in my head, so things are going to be a little bit off. But I think the idea has promise, at least in sort of a mental, like, let's think about this sort of way. I would probably buy a game like that. It feels like the kind of game where it feels almost like a mobile game. Not really, but sort of, if you think about it like this, right? It's the kind of thing where you would set something up and then just have it run for hours and hours while it generates you resources, which you then use to build more route and get more resources. It's really, that's the feedback loop right there. It's not anything crazy or groundbreaking, or even really, I keep yawning, even really that unique or creative. But it is what it is. It's this feedback loop where you're just trying to get more stuff to build your route bigger constantly. And that in and of itself encourages you to keep building. Because obviously with any game, you need a sort of feedback loop to make people stick around and continue playing and do whatever like that. So having that loop be you build more to get more to build more to get more. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because what else are you really going to do? But I don't know if the eventual or final goal would actually be the former or the latter. Are you trying to advertise a game where you're building, or are you trying to advertise a game where you are acquiring? You know, what would the leaderboard say if there was one? Would it say, oh, this guy has the biggest route, or this guy has the most money? So that's something to think about. You know, for this game that doesn't exist and will never exist, because, I mean, let's be honest, who would really, you know, who's the market for this? I mean, obviously, I'm trying to think of ways to market it, but at the same time, realistically, it's kind of a, I mean, it's already a niche game being a train simulator, but a game that is, you know, trains and locomotion at the same time. I mean, again, I could see it would be very appealing. It's certainly appealing to me, but would anyone actually care? That's the question you have to come back to, the one you have to remember. You know, you have to appeal this to people. We're playing Game Dev Tycoon here in real life. So, I mean, how do you market this? Okay, it's a game. It's a train simulator, but you have to pay for everything. But you need to actually work to build your world. It's like, okay, so it's a tycoon game, yeah, but it's also a train simulator. But it's really just a tycoon game where you're building the world. So, you know, the difficulty in tycoon games comes from, here is the world laid out before you, figure out how to connect it. If you're doing this, you know, you're basically building out of the goodness of your own heart here in this hypothetical game world. Because who else is going to care? You can build just dead straight lines that just go up a hill. And also, because the train's AI doesn't care about loading and stuff like that. It just goes, you know. So, that also kind of... Oh, this was not a straight road. That also kind of hinders the idea. I don't know, I think it's worth something. I mean, I certainly would be entertained. I'd love a little rough version of it, but, you know, I'm not a programmer by any means. I know a little bit of that stuff, but I could not begin to actually start creating a game or a real working, proper, functional piece of software. Not something that I have any experience in or really any desire to try and figure out, because I've already got enough stuff going on in my life. So, you know, if anybody is hearing me and it's like, oh, maybe that's a good idea, maybe you can figure it out. Oh, great. This is going to turn into a loop of death. All the cars are going to come in here and get stuck. So we'll do that. And then I'll go out that way. There we go, we have the drop-off for the school buses. Let's see how this guy goes. Okay, he goes out that way. Alright, cool. I'm trying to prevent the loops, brother. What is this? Let me guess, this is Chris saying this. Yep. Okay, so we greened up 2 more blocks, but we started, you know, just doing the fencing on this one, or we finished the fencing on this one. Let me actually grab some gravel, because I want to put it around the pool. Give me this. We put this pool down last time, and then I didn't finish doing what I was doing with it, and it's been the better part of a month since I last worked on this route, so it's a little bit like, oh crap, where was I? So part of me wants to automate, but the other part of me is like, yeah, but it doesn't make any sense to start trying to do that right now, and you don't do that during these episodes. It's called under construction, not under automation. So yeah, let's just stick to what we know, and let's stop trying to wander off and do other things. So first things first, we're going to put up some driveways and then some fences. That's really all we're going to do. We're going to do driveways and fences, because this doesn't need to be nearly as detailed as our suburbs there in Olive. I don't care that much. I just want to get it out the door. I want to get it good enough, and I want to get it out the door. So we're going to get these driveways in and move on with our lives. I've been moving on a lot lately. Moving on with my life. Have a house now. Okay, switch cars with my mechanic. That's kind of a big deal for me. I have to go to the DMV. I know, exciting. But I have to go to the DMV because it's the 25th. My insurance is rolled over. I've got new. I will have, I suppose, new documents shortly that I can copy over, that I can take, and I can take to the DMV and tell them, yes, I have 2 functioning cars now. I need you to give me another set of license plates for my other car, and it won't need an inspection sticker because it's an antique. I actually got a piece of it in the mail the other day. The seatbelt, the driver's side seatbelt, passenger side seatbelt assembly. Driver's side works fine, or else I probably wouldn't be driving it around. Which was no longer functional after the accident. And so I went on eBay. I happened to find one with the right year and the right model, and I purchased it, and I had it sent here, and it took forever, but it's here, and now I need to take it to my mechanic and go, does this actually work? Because I was tugging on it, and it doesn't seem like it works. I don't want to be like, well, I guess I have to send this back now, without knowing whether my mechanic actually likes it or not. Because if he's like, yeah, that's normal until I actually install it and unlock it or whatever, then I'm just going to say, cool, go ahead, follow through, put it in. So I'm looking forward to that, if that's what comes out of it. Hopefully that's what comes out of it. I don't want to have to send it back or whatever. Or at the very least, maybe if it doesn't work, he can figure out how to make it work. He is a mechanic after all, that's his job. So, yeah. He's supposed to get my car to work. He's done an excellent job of that so far, although, to his, on the flip side, he did just, quote, put a battery in it and started it up. It's not like he went way out of his way. Why does this house have, like, no polygons? It's not like he went way out of his way to make that happen. But he did do his job, and then he only charged me for the battery. It's not like he charged me. He doesn't like charge diagnostic fees or anything like that. He is fantastic. He is a gem. Tony is. I could gush about him forever. I will direct anyone in the state of Rhode Island with a Volvo to him and some other kind of cars too, because in his words, we work on everything, brother. He's not Hulk Hogan, but he refers to everyone as brother. And it's not like brother, it's like brother. In that northeastern or Italian sort of way. He is such a New Englander. Such a New Englander. Also, I've started to fall back into the New Englander sort of feel after living out of state for so long and having, sort of long commutes as well. Everything's right here, why would I go farther away for it? Sort of mentality has sunk back in to me. Which is funny considering I'm flying out for Utah in a week and a half. Probably a week and a half by the time this gets posted. It's more like a week and 5 days at this point. but I am leaving soon. Madison's not happy about it, but I am leaving soon. Speaking of Madison, she is out tonight with her brother watching Ant-Man go up Thanos' butt. No spoilers, please. Yeah, so that's happening tonight. I'm not there because I apparently don't get to watch Marvel movies with her. So, oh well. This is the part where I feel bad. Now, in truth, I haven't kept up with my Marvel movies at all. So, the fact that I'm not seeing Infinity War right when it's coming out Endgame. I didn't see Infinity War when it came out either. Right when it's coming out is really not anything shakening to me. Shaking. It's anything. It doesn't make me feel overly bad. I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna like get it spoiled for me eventually, and then I'm gonna not care. I don't want spoilers right now because if somebody invites me to go see it, then I totally will. But like, otherwise, I'm not gonna go out of my way to go see it. I'm not really a moviegoer. I like going to the movies, but it's very expensive. You have to smuggle food in. Like, I don't know. It's not worth it to me. I'd rather just wait and see it eventually. You know, although that said, I don't even take the opportunity to like, oh, let me watch this on a Redbox or whatever, or Netflix. I don't have Netflix, but I have like Amazon Prime, but that doesn't really, that doesn't really, that doesn't give me a whole lot, is what I'm noticing. Madison has Hulu, which also gives you some stuff, but not the same stuff. Everything's in these segmented different subscription services nowadays, and I'm not the biggest fan. That said, I mean, stuff was like that before with, okay, well, here's this cable plan, and this cable plan, and this cable plan. But at least you always went to the same place for it, It's not, well, okay, I can go to this website and get this, or this website and get this. I mean, there are, like, entertainment stations where you can do that. I know I can get, like, apps for the stuff on my Xbox or whatever, but the fact that it isn't all in one place is a downside to me. It's disappointing. So, and that's okay, that's the other thing, right? So, HBO, and I just found out about this today, so that's kind of why I'm excited about it. I was on a Chernobyl kick not too long ago, and I convinced Madison that we should totally visit Chernobyl. And she agreed after seeing some awesome drone footage of Pripyat. But the HBO, sorry, not the HBO. HBO is making a mini-series based on the events of Chernobyl, or the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, and oh man, do I want to watch that. That is the first thing that I've wanted to watch on HBO since Game of Thrones came out. Speaking of which, I'm not following Game of Thrones, so oh well. But they are wrapping here, and I know it's a big deal, and I'm not really sure who I want to. I want to see Tyrion get the Iron Throne, honestly. I don't think that would happen, but I'd like to see it. I don't know how he's developed in the past couple of seasons, but he was like my favorite character back in the day, and I'm glad he's still alive. That was the one thing, that I think we all learned from Game of Thrones is, oh crap, we can make a TV series where people are expendable. Like we can just get new characters instead of fixing the old ones. Maybe that's a little cynical. We don't need to do character development if we kill all the characters, taps forehead. Yeah, maybe that's just a little bit cynical. But, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes in Westeros. I know it's more of a no one is safe sort of feeling than it is a yeah, we'll just toss these people out and get new ones sort of feeling. Of course. It's Game of Thrones. The thing to be aware of, though, or the thing to think about, right, is the impact that has, and why it's actually so significant that you can have a series with characters that are expendable when we're so used to series with characters that, like, you know, that persevere, that, okay, it's, well, how are they going to get out of it this time? And that's exactly it. So when you watch an episode of Doctor Who, you wonder, oh, well, how is the Doctor going to save their companions and get out of this one? How is he or she going to do it? And then you find out, you know, the Doctor comes up with this miraculous plan and saves the day, and sometimes saves the planet and whatever. But, you know, occasionally you have someone die, but usually when it's like somebody big, like a companion or even the Doctor, it's telegraphed way in advance, and it's not the kind of thing that you can really get away from. So, that's, you know, it's not like Avengers or, you know, particularly Game of Thrones, where there are, you know, where it's just suddenly like, oh my god. You know, I remember when Ned Stark died, because I watched up to season 5, being like, oh crap, like what? Like, but that, you know, he was like the good guy. He was the only good guy. We were gonna see how he got out of it, and then you learn, like, no, because no one is safe here. You know, this is in the Game of Thrones. What's the word? In the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, something like that. Yeah, and it's serious business. So, you know, we all learned that from that series and others like it. And that's the thing. You know, that's the difference. When you have a series where you know what's going to happen to it, then you spend your time wondering, okay, well, how is the problem going to be solved? But when you have a series where, you know, where nowhere is safe, basically, then you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the problem's going to be solved. You're going, oh, I really hope they solve this problem, because if they don't, they're screwed. And that's, you know, that's where we're at, or that's where we've always been at with Game of Thrones. And that's what sets it apart, or at least it did set it apart more than many other series of its time when it started coming out 8 years ago. And obviously, there aren't lives on the line with the Horsemen, typically. But, you know, as a show set in the transition era, there are definitely times when we're going through the Horsemen, it's like, well, we're just going to have to, you know, this character is just going to have to die. Like, they can't stay around. I mean, we're not going to put everyone in a museum. Not everybody gets a happy ending. So, you know, this person's just going to have to die. They're going to have to get scrapped. It's like, well, what? It's like, yeah, no, it's just what we got to do. And, you know, I'm not looking forward to those episodes. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to writing them, because that's, you know, you get to play with some heartstrings. You get to be real emotional. But I'm not looking forward to saying goodbye to characters, especially likable ones. Anyway, we gotta put some fences up around these houses. We also gotta put some patches of dark grass in the back here. Come on, game. There we go. I think some folks in the group tried a multiplayer test of Tane the other day, of 19 the other day, and I was, you know, looking forward to joining in on that, but I don't have it installed and I didn't have time because of the move and everything like that, which we are unpacking things. You know, I think about that scene in The Incredibles where, you know, Helen calls Bob at work and she goes, you know, we're officially moved in after, you know, 3 years or whatever, or 3 months or something. And he goes, well, the last 3 months that we lived there we weren't moved in? And she goes, no, because we finally unpacked the last box. And I'm so feeling that. When I moved back and forth to college, it wasn't nearly as present as like okay, yeah, we have tons and tons of boxes, just like countless boxes. And going through them all, right? Going through them is a big deal and takes a lot of time. And so, especially when you have just sort of accumulated junk, just stuff that you start to just not want to get rid of stuff, and it very quickly leads to, well, what about this box? Let's deal with that later. Put it somewhere else. And A, I'm totally guilty of that. B, it's necessary sometimes. We opened a whole box of mementos from not just my childhood, but from a long time ago. Stuff from when I was little, but stuff from before that, like from when my parents were married. Like, we found stuff from their wedding and whatever. And it's just the thing that got me more than anything. We found a music box that my grandmother used to have in this very house that plays "You Are My Sunshine." And I haven't cried like that in a long time. So yeah, I do in fact have a soul. But it wasn't even like, we played the music and I was like, oh, that's sweet. I think my grandmother used to have this in this house, or at least that's the thought that crossed my mind. But then it gave this little squeak. Just as it was playing, it gave a little eep, because it's a mechanical music box. And for whatever reason, that squeak struck such a chord in my memory that I just lost it right there. I was so done. I couldn't sort out anything else at that point forward. I was unable to sort anything else. And I just sort of went like, what? I took the thing, I turned it on again. Oh, excuse me. I listened to it and I just cried. And it wasn't, I'm sure Madison, we were pulling out stuff from my parents' wedding when they've been divorced for a number of years, ever since I was actually very little. Not very little, but little, perhaps. And I'm sure Madison thought that was getting me, but really what was getting me was just that music box. It was just the music box. It opened the floodgates, and everything after that was just like aftershocks. It was amazing. I have the music box now sitting by the bed. Madison was kind enough to take it and put it there for me, and I haven't touched it since. I haven't played it or anything. It's not that I don't want to cry again, I just don't feel like, I don't feel like feeling that, It's not about the crying particularly, but it's just like oh God, like, I can't even describe how, I guess the right word would be visceral of reaction that was, because I couldn't control that at all. It was just, I heard the little squeak, and it was the squeak of my childhood. It was the squeak of knowing my grandparents, and it was something that, it's one of these things that I did not and I could not consciously think about, and I never would have. It never would have crossed my mind that just a little of gears rubbing together, or, the shaft rubbing against the collar or whatever, that would have had such an impact on me. I had no way of knowing that. And I had no way of communicating it or anything like that. I just heard the squeak, and I immediately picked it up, and I had to play it again. It was incredible, honestly. Let's see, what do I want to do? I want I want like a running track, you know? I don't want I don't want all this JR stuff. Oh well. Oh, this is actually kind of nice. It's very simple though. Oh, it's got some 2D elements. Nah. Okay, how about I think we have like, yeah, okay, we have some basketball courts. Alright, so we have a hill here. Let's flatten part of this hill. Just want to expose the edges. It's actually hillier, much hillier than I expected it to be. So let's flatten this, expose the corners. I'll just have the one basketball court. It'll take up this corner. And then I honestly kind of want to turn the scale all the way down and just put this around the edge. I know it looks kind of silly, but this is like the, you know, the sloped edge that they've dug out and then put some stones around it just to show, or just to hold back the dirt. Meanwhile, I'll use this Airba 3. Yeah, these roads are not really grid aligned, and nothing here really is, which I guess is a good thing, because it's much more organic and natural and you know, realistic this way. But it also does make things a pain because everything in the world here is on a grid. Obviously, as you guys know, in the past 80 some odd episodes, that this that things are a pain when you're trying to work not on the grid, and the world is a grid. That's why a finer grid is better, but as you guys also know, that also incurs some performance issues. I know there are pills for performance issues, but those will not help me here. Speaking of pills for performance issues, right? One of the things that I did today, or really the only major thing that I got done today, which is unfortunate because I was supposed to bake something. The only major thing in the house that I got done today was putting up some pictures, which needed to go on the wall. Now, we didn't really have anything beforehand, so, you know, on the walls, they were all pretty bare. Nothing was left for us on the walls. But, I did have plenty of stuff, whether it be posters or pictures or whatever. So, Madison and I went around last night, and we figured out where we wanted to put everything. It was, okay, you know, this is going to go over here, this is going to go over here, we think this should go over here. You know, we went around and we sat down and we agreed upon where we wanted stuff, just house stuff, to go. Okay, that's too much. And I think it turned out pretty well. We didn't shout about anything, we just sort of went back and forth a lot, as you do. And also, the not shouting at each other is not the normal measure of things went well. We don't tend to shout at each other anyway. But at least not seriously. At least not in a serious manner. Yeah, so we set out all the pictures about where they should go, as decided by us. And then I found a couple more, and, you know, we settled those, or I just figured, they'll go here for now. And so then my dad came over today with his tools and everything, and he came and set up all the junk, all the stuff that goes on the walls. So I was very happy to get that done. It's just one more thing. But it's one more thing that, A, it's stuff that's not in boxes, because most of the stuff kind of was, especially the posters. Well, they were all wrapped up. But the other thing is the pictures, now that they're adorning the walls, it really just makes it feel a little bit more like home, which is an important thing to do in a house, especially in a house like this where we've sort of inherited it. It was my aunt's house, and before that it was my grandparents' house, and it's the kind of place where it's got a lot of history, and it's important to when you get a place like this, especially one that has long-standing history in in this case my family. It's important to go through and to make it sort of your own. For us it was okay, well, yeah, let's make this ours, not just for the sake of doing so, but also to make it clear to one another and to everyone that we're not just in this house that's someone else's, but we're just inhabiting it. We are here. This is our house. This is our stuff. This is our home. It's more than just a house that we own. It's our home. That, I think, is that's the big symbolic thing with putting up these pictures and stuff like that. That's the symbolism. So you can go and talk to your English teacher about that one. Of course, it also, like I said, just makes the place a little nicer. You don't want the walls to always be bare, stuff like that. There's a picture that floats around the internet, I've seen it from time to time, of I can't believe a guy can live like this. And it's just a folding chair with a controller on it in front of a TV stand, and with a TV and an Xbox or a PlayStation, and an otherwise completely empty room. And that, I totally resonate. I understand that. I would probably be that person if I didn't have so much junk already. There are so many things in this house. The Temelio motto for a very long time has been, it's good enough for now, we'll fix it later. So there's so many things in this house that it's well, maybe we should really fix it now instead of later. One of the things is the concrete apron that surrounds the house that was put in place when the house was moved has totally sunk along with the house. And that makes it so that the water, instead of flowing off the roof onto the concrete and then to the yard, flows off the roof onto the concrete and then into the house. And then into the basement more specifically. So we have a little bit of a wetness problem downstairs. Sex joke in there somewhere. But yeah, so we have a little bit of an issue with that. And that's one of the things where it's we could probably work on this sooner rather than later. But at the same time, the reason that it was never done is that it's not a simple thing to do. It's actually a fairly significant undertaking to do a project like that, even if you're not the one physically doing it. We wouldn't be the ones getting our hands dirty, so to speak. It would all be, whoever we hire to come in and oh, excuse me. To come in and put in concrete. But that is what it is. Oh, crap. I really can't even use this tool on a 5-meter grid. I'm just trying to get this to sit right. In fact, this is the 5-meter grid. This is the trade-off. It's the trade-off between having a route that looks good and frustration. Yeah, you have to make that choice. You have to choose. You either one comes with the other, you know. So you have to choose, like, okay, do I want my route to have nice terrain, or do I want to be able to actually work on my route properly? And I totally chose the nice terrain. I love good terrain. That's one of my favorite things to have and to work on. I mean, not only because I really like approaching it from the geological perspective of, well, okay, how would this really look? But also just because, I don't know, it's really therapeutic. It is therapeutic far more so than doing something like Suburbia is, or something like this, something really finicky. Terrain is not finicky. Terrain is big. Terrain is the biggest thing on a route. It is the hardest thing to get. Well, actually, that's not true. It's still the hardest thing to get wrong. You can actually fairly easily get it wrong, but it's also not. Actually, I don't know. Let's think about that. Is it the hardest thing to get right? You know, making good terrain, it can really make or break a route. If you don't have realistic, or at least half decent looking terrain, your route is going to look ridiculous. There's no way it's going to come out, you know, looking any good. So maybe it is, in no small way, the most important part of a route scenically. Also, because it is, because it's, what's the word? Because it's so integral to how the tracks go. It is really that important. It can easily make or break a route. You can have the most gorgeous track work and automation and even your scenery, but if the scenery is built on terrain that's garbage, you know, whether it's all totally flat or it's got these bizarre sheer cliffs because you never really plateaued anything out, or it's got like weird striations because you just went quick and you didn't patch things up when you got through an area. It's that kind of stuff to me is such an easy, like a loss of points in a route review. It is not overly difficult to impress me with good terrain because I know how much good terrain takes in terms of time and effort and thought. But bad terrain is one of the easiest ways to lose points for me, I would think. Maybe not the easiest, because it is fairly subjective. It's one of the easiest, sure. But the easiest is probably something like... Well, the easiest is content, almost definitely. Because it's just like, okay, just give me all the content and we'll be square. And if you can't deliver, then you lose points. I will try to work with you to get all the content, like I did with Mason last time around. And, oh crap. I forget the person's name who's route reviewed. I totally forget. But, you know, I will totally work with somebody to get their stuff, right? To get all their assets. But if you just can't get me all those assets, you're going to lose points. It's just as simple as that. So that's probably the easiest way to lose points. Maybe the second easiest is like track work. Now, what do I normally dock points for? Ops. That's what it is. Almost. It's so much effort to get a perfect score in ops, because in order to get a perfect score, a 10 out of 10, you need to have very well placed track marks. You need to have all your switches and signals and industries and track marks and triggers and etc. You need to have all that named. And I mean, that might be the most time consuming part of it. But yeah, that is probably the easiest overall category to lose points on with me, because it's so easy for me to look at something and go, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. And like I said, it takes a lot of effort to make a route finished for that sort of thing. Oh, let me just attach them. Actually, we're going to do a slick double fence here. There we go. Yeah, let's see, I covered my train game thing, I covered a little bit of moving fun. I mean, so, it's great when you get to the house with 2 couches, and neither of them can fit inside the door. They can't get in the front door, and you can't, for the life of you, get them in the side door either. So, that was my experience earlier, and it ended up coming down to taking one of the couches had wheels, it no longer has wheels. Taking the wheels off that couch. Taking, the doors off the back, which is the door from the hallway into the porch and the door from the hallway into the rest of the house. So 2 doors that were in a row. Taking both of those off. Taking wheels off the couch. Getting it sideways, getting it through the door, then getting it into the middle area, and then standing it up on its end because the ceilings were just high enough to stand the couch up on its end. And then finally getting it into the right room. And this room, which is this room that I'm recording in, was full of stuff. Just absolutely filled to the brim with boxes because all the boxes got moved out of the other rooms and into here for some reason. And so we get it in here and we can't actually get it any farther. I just have to say, alright, that's good enough, leave it where it is, which it's facing the wrong way, it's preventing you from opening one of the doors, you have to climb over it to get to the closet. It was a mess, but it was good enough. It was in the room, and I knew that to move it from there, I only needed me, myself, and I. I didn't need to go and get more help for the sake of moving this couch. I wanted to get it as far as I could while I had people with me, and so I did that. And we got it in this room, and that is all that needed to happen. And so over the next couple of days, Madison and I went through the rest of the stuff that was in this room in pretty efficient manner. Well, most of the rest of the stuff. There's still some boxes lying around. But enough of the stuff got cleared out of the way so that we could slide the coffee table around and the couch around and get everything in more or less the right locations. So, yeah. EZPZ. Let's see. I kind of want to make like a row of really bad foliage over here. Yeah, like that. So, very recently, this is something I want to talk about. Very recently, within the past couple of days, Sabaton, my favorite power metal band, which, if you don't know them, they are a Swedish power metal band that releases historically themed metal songs. And God, are they good. They are really what got me into metal as a whole. And I wouldn't even say I'm that far into metal, but... And also I can thank the Metal Machine at 40ph, our Lord, for getting me into Sabaton in the first place. But, yeah, so they do historically based power metal songs. Oh my God, are they good. And they released one which the video rapidly climbed trending and was sitting at like number 4 last time I saw it, and in under 48 hours has gained 1.5 million views. Because not only is the video really good, the song is really good, and the subject matter is really good. It's on the Bismarck, the most feared battleship of World War II, probably. The most feared battleship of World War II, asterisk. I mean, let's be honest with the Bismarck. I'm not going to be a wearaboo about it. I will admit that the Bismarck, by the time World War II came around, while it may have been an imposing presence, it was... Or not, maybe not by the time World War II came around, but as far as World War II warships go, while the Bismarck may have been an incredibly imposing presence, it wouldn't... I'm doubtful that it would have lasted the war, just in general. Aside from the obvious, which is, okay, yeah, carrier doctrine really came about. It wasn't so developed in the Atlantic, but it was still a very big deal, and you could take down ships with planes fairly easily, asterisk. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't an effort to do that, but compared to facing them one-on-one with another battleship or a fleet or squadron, it was much, much easier just to send out, some planes and dive bombers and torpedo bombers to take the thing out. So, I mean, and more to the point, the Bismarck was sort of ended by an aircraft anyway. So, that is what it is. In a 1-to-1 fight against, say, any of the big battleships, at least the U.S.'s big battleships, or like Japan's big battleships, they're top of the line. The Bismarck, I don't think, would have won. I'm not even sure how much of a chance it would have had, because, I mean, it was big and it was imposing, and it was honestly, it was something special for sure. But I just am not sure about it, in terms of really being able to stand up against other. It's contemporaries. It's actual comparable ships from different nations. So, it was the top of the line, but I mean, Germany was never the naval power anyway. It was certainly impressive that they managed to develop something that was as good as the Bismarck, and certainly as feared as the Bismarck. But it was not their forte. It never was. That said, the story of the Bismarck is an amazing one, and one that I am so happy has been immortalized in a Sabaton song. Of course, the Bismarck already has one fantastic song written about it, but now we have two, and boy, it's good. I've listened to it probably a dozen times now, so I can't stop with the Bismarck. It's yeah. So, as far as other non-naval powers go, though, I think the Bismarck certainly would have had a leg up on... I mean, French battleships, yeah. Italian battleships, yeah. I think it would have mopped the floor with those guys. But, I mean, even... It certainly stood up to Prince of Wales and Hood. But... I don't know. Yeah, against late war battleships, or even the Yamato class, I don't think the Bismarck would have fared particularly well. That said, still an amazing ship. Still certainly of ships of its of the early war era, and of ships of its region, I suppose is another way to put it. It effectively could not be outclassed. It wasn't a perfect battleship by any means, but for where it was a really, really good battleship. And that's all you really need. You don't need to be the best in the world if you're only fighting in your neck of the woods. Which, I mean, the Bismarck was designed for commerce raiding. It was designed for this long-legged commerce raiding, where you could go out into the Atlantic for weeks at a time and just take down merchant ships after merchant ships, it would have basically been untouchable by anything that was a convoy escort. So it would have fulfilled its job pretty easily, I would think. Certainly wouldn't have taken anything lying down. But as far as as far as battleship on battleship goes, I'm not, I don't know. It would have done really well, but it wouldn't have been perfect. It wouldn't have been an unkillable monster, as it were. Either way, listen to the song. Watch the video, especially. Watch the video. It's awesome. It really is amazing. The thing that is, the thing that's really great about it is all the visuals, And it has some fantastic Foley as well, but, watching that thing and watching the swordfish fly in and the battleships duking it out and, everything like that, it is just, it's awesome. It's goodness. It's everything you need in a music video about Bismarck. Also, I like that, I really do like that Bismarck broke convention and was christened as a male. And it sort of makes my, my horseman shtick a little bit more valid almost. It's like, yeah, it's a she. And I've always stuck to my guns that, well, yeah, but they were a she when, ships were a she when captains were all male. And we're moving on past that point. We're not limiting the job of captain to just guys anymore. It's, it's the kind of thing where, okay, well, so, yeah, your boat was your pussy, I get it, but now it's not just for you, Mr. Captain, it's also for Miss Captain. So, you can be whatever you want. You can have a male or a female pronoun for your boat. At least that's my opinion. Maybe I'm being too progressive with my boats. But I mean, Germany did it first, and Nazi Germany is not exactly known for being the most accepting place. Just gonna throw that one out there. So I don't know. I like that. Good job, Hitler. I like where your head's at. That is something not to take out of context. Man, if somebody clips that, they're gonna, I'm gonna have people all over me. I gotta have Madison all over me, like, what the hell? Because, she's Jewish, so, praising Hitler really doesn't fly around her. To be honest, though, praising Hitler really shouldn't fly around anyone. Because, because he's Hitler. Does it need a further explanation? When you're bad, you're literally Hitler. If you are, in fact, literally Hitler, it should be self-explanatory that something's not good. And that something is you. Because you're Hitler. I need more drink. I really wasn't prepared to talk for 2 hours today. I don't know why. I'm already losing my voice, and I'm already actually rather tired. But we have gotten a couple of blocks done, which I think is good. I just need to get through these, We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks to go. And we've got, 3.5 so far done this episode. We're already only an hour in, so I think we're moving at a pretty steady pace. It's just, I don't want to, the danger is if I start thinking about other things and get sidetracked, then we start to lose, time that we could be spending on making this stuff. So, yeah, I want to just get through here as fast as I can, because the quicker I get this area done, the quicker we can move on to other things. It's like a single-mindedness. I know you guys are a little bored of making the suburbs, and trust me, I am too, but it's got to happen. we've got to get this thing done. We've got to get this town done so we can move on to the next one. So, move on to the next one, move on to the next segment, the next part of the map, or really so that we can go up along the VMR and start adding more grass and trees. I suppose we could move on from this and go and add grass and trees right now, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything actually. I know nothing, as a matter of fact. Maybe I should be rooting for Jon Snow. I totally lost my train of thought because I saw a message. Let me stop doing that. So, I'm gonna, as much as there's a little voice in my head that's holding me back and it's saying, just go to bed, An hour-long video is good enough. You've had no videos. It's better than nothing. But then the rest of me is going, yeah, but idiot, it's supposed to be 2 hours. You need to come on here and do 2 hours of work a week, and you already skipped 2 weeks. So get out, so shut up and do your work. Take your lumps. And it comes back to, with a couple more of my friends now, with a couple more horsemen now, working on routes again, I feel important, I feel like it's prudent to say it yet again. Building a good route is 10% motivation and inspiration, 10% motivation, 10% inspiration, 90% discipline. 90% coming in here and going, yeah, well, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to build this, this is going to be it. I'm going to get this done today. And that's, it's hard to sit down and do, and effectively play a game like you're doing a job. Like you're sitting down and going, well, I guess I have to get this done. I don't really feel like it, but I have to get this done. But the end product is so worth it that you really do just have to buckle down and get it done. Without discipline, right? Without that discipline, without the desire to wrap up a route, without the desire to actually move forward on working on a route, then you will never finish a route. Unless you're building something small that you can do in the one session while you're motivated, which, let's be honest, no shame in that. That's a completely normal thing to do. But most people don't, is the reason I'm saying it as a sidebar. It is important to know that when you start a larger route, you're going to be in it for the long haul. If you don't think you're going to finish that route, just don't start. Just scale back your plans until you have something of a size that you can actually complete. Because, what's it worth having a half-finished route that you're just going to throw out in the end? Have something that you can be proud of at the end of the day. I think that's something that's really important. That sometimes is lost on people, and then they don't want to go back to route building because it's like, yeah, well, I never have anything at the end of the day. It's because you're setting your sights too high. You're doing one of two things. You're either setting your sights way too high, or you are not buckling down and finishing the thing that you said you would finish. And those two, like I said, are very well coupled together. You can't really have one without the other. You can set your sights way too high, for example, building a huge route on a peninsula with a semi-realistic scale and half-decent scenery that's going to take you the rest of your life, but still actually working on it every week. Or almost every week. I suppose you can do that, but that's not setting your sights too high if you actually come out and do it. This isn't the Tamros Vale and Anaconda where it's, where it's really rough and it's not following this and it's not doing that. And, I'm sure there will be things down the line that I don't like. I already am disliking a lot of the schedules that I put together. But compared to redoing parts of the route, pulling out AI and reprogramming it, especially when the reprogramming is as simple as, okay, I'll change these 2 or 3 commands just to make the time a half hour later or something like that. That's, you know... Oh, for God's sake. Who parks on the grass like this? Psychos, that's who. Isn't this house supposed to move? Anyway. Yeah, so you can totally bite off more than you can chew, or no. You can totally set your sights really high and still fulfill it, you know, still finish that. You know, there are people that have remade the entirety of Mariah's Pass in the game, among other things. There are people who have, you know, the PRR Eastern subdivision in MSTS is thousands of miles of track, which is not an easy thing to do in MSTS. Even though the game is actually quite conducive to these mega routes. But it's the kind of thing where, you know, you can set your sights whatever which way you want. And if you follow through, then you did just fine. In fact, you might even argue that you didn't set your sights high enough. But if you set your sights and then you don't even get close to finishing it, clearly you made a mistake somewhere. And it was either you decided to do way more than you were going to do, or you knew you were going to do all that and then at some point you just changed your mind. Now, let's be honest here though. It's a fine line to be drawn between discipline and forcing yourself to do something that you legitimately do not want to do. If you do not care about the end product anymore, then you don't need to work on the route anymore. But if you still want to have a route at the end of the day, you gotta boot up trains and you gotta do some work. You know, it's not... I'm not talking out of my rear end here. I'm not making things up. It's just facts. You know, I'm Double D. I've got the book. It says facts on the front. It's, you know, I'm telling it like it is. If you want a product, you gotta make that product, or you gotta pay. You know, people say if you're not paying for something, then you are the product. Well, or you are the creator, you know? Or even then, you are the product. You know, think about it. I am making this route. I have convinced at least a few people to buy trains based on this series here. Now, I did pay for trains, so I am, in fact, the customer and not the product. But I'm making these videos for, you know, basically for trains, and putting them on YouTube, which, you know, isn't costing me anything to do. And the reason I can get away with taking this wonderful game and just making a few pennies off of it, really, is because I am the product. Because I am doing these things that attract people to this piece of software and to the website of YouTube, this one that you're on right now. And, you know, among other things, it is free because we are helping them for free, not because they're helping us for free. It's, you know, it is that, specifically that, not the other way around. I think I'm gonna do this. This is gonna look kind of weird, but... Okay. It's a concrete apron. It goes around the house. So it is so hovering. But you know what? It's fine. So, let's put all these driveways in. You know, should I just go and do all driveways and just, you just do that and then come back and do fences, and then, instead of going block by block, right? Just do everything in like, I'll do all this, I'll do all this, I'll do all this. Part of me wants to go through and do all the green for all these, blocks. But also part of me is like, well, don't do that, because you're not done with one block. Why are you moving on to the next one? It's sort of like, well, it's a microcosm for the route as a whole, where I am not done with this section, so I can't move on to building more VMR, because I'm not done building this bit of VMR and Gilson Eastern. So, there's an order to everything. But also it's like, when you have a mega project such as this, right? When you have such a huge project, you don't want to go into it like, alright, now I'm going to do it all. I'm going to lay all the track, I'm going to run all the trains down all the industries, I'm going to do everything right now. And I feel like too many people fall into that trap where they start just building. Whether they have a map or not, they just don't really have a plan for their construction. They just start building. And they build and they build and they build and they build, but they build what they want to see first, which is track, and then some scenery, and then not ever the rest of the scenery. You have your track down and you go, well, I don't really feel like building more of it because I have my track, so, what else? Why do I have to go and make something else? I have my track. And then that leads to the downfall of the route, because you don't really want to play on it when it looks super ugly unless you're really just there to do ops. In which case, just go on industrial wasteland or something. I'm not saying you shouldn't be building your own routes if you just want to do ops, but if you're, if you don't ever feel like doing scenery, your routes really aren't going to get anywhere. The biggest thing about making your own route is being able to set it the way you want, being able to do the scenery the way you want, and have it look the way you want. So, yeah. Fully not taking advantage of that, questionable. So I'm actually going to fly over here. I like how we have a noticeable splotch here. It's a lot bigger than the one at Mason's Landing. So let's go back over here by Adams and put down some grass, maybe. Just grass, though, as we know. We can't start doing texture or stuff like that, or else we're going to have a bad time. Because when we start copying over the trees and stuff, it'll just delete the texture that we already have down, if we have any texture down already. So one of the things that I know we need to do is put some edging around this here, because this is all just regular grass and not the bush, the shrub splines. We don't need it going down that way, but we do need it over here. We got some trees. Because there needs to be some depth, but there also needs to be a bit in the forest where you can't really see any farther at ground level, so that you can't see where I've stopped laying grass. And these are pretty wide strips of grass, too. It's very forgiving where they are right now. But God. I'm dying, really good. Whoa. Oh, let me just put this camera where I want it. But here, you can see a little ways into the forest, and there are some trees, and then there are some bushes, and then the only thing after that you'd be able to see is trees, which is what I'm trying to do. And I think, yeah, I did put some bushes in here, but they're all the way back there, so I think I should be drawing forward. But no, because they're, this area is what it is, so I'm actually going to leave that the way it is. I think what I'm really just going to do, or what I really should be doing, is continuing just on the other side of the the bridge here. We do just have to carry on with this. You know, I haven't been back here in quite a while, you know, a couple of months, probably, because we've been working real hard in Mason Valley, and there's a lot that needs to be done trackside, but thankfully, and I'll give it one more pass in just a moment, but thankfully Adams is basically squared away. You know, when I come on here, the goal is to get a decent amount of stuff done, but we can only ever get so much done, and I'm no speedrunner when it comes to building routes. Like I've said 100 times, there's a reason I don't participate in the competitions, because in a couple of hours I can make a couple blocks of suburbia. I am not a fast builder when it comes to this, and I wouldn't even say I'm inefficient. I'm just not quick. I spend a lot of time trying to find the right asset, or really thinking a few steps ahead of what I'm doing, so that I never have to go back and redo something. Which, you know, that's a good thing. I'm, you know, it's a little bit of a brag if I'm honest, but that doesn't mean it's perfect, and it also, you know, it doesn't always work like that, and it really hinders me from getting a lot of stuff done in a short length of time when it comes to route building, which is unfortunate because I only have these 2 hours a week to work on it. Really, I could force myself to do more, you know, second under construction per week, but that's realistically, it's not going to happen. It's hard enough to do the one, and I need to spend more time with my girlfriend now because we live together. I don't have all week to lollygag and do what I want. I also have, you know, a house to take care of and food to make and that sort of thing. I have to adult sometimes. You know, like I said, this video started at like 9:15 because, wait a minute. It started at 20 of 10, sorry. Because I was hanging up photos and pictures and paintings and stuff with my dad. Because, you know, I was lucky enough to have him here with all his tools and expertise, and it's really something that needs to get done, you know, to spiff up the house. So I didn't want to squander that time, and I wanted to make sure that I got as much out of him as I could, you know, and I made efficient use of the time instead of having him come here and having him do like one or two things and then being like, alright, I gotta make my video, get out. And it's just as well that Madison's going to see Endgame today, because that gives me some time where I don't have to feel guilty about leaving her out. Although, you know, she's been doing these videos with me, so it's not like it's awful that I have to make this while she's here. But at the same time, you know, it's nice to spend the time when we're together actually together and not in front of a camera and microphone. She did express to me again yesterday the desire to restart Locomotion. So, we might be doing that a little bit more. I'd like to get her in like Minecraft episodes and stuff like that. I actually like to film some Minecraft, or at least stream it. And, yeah. I want to play Minecraft. I've been itching to play Minecraft since 1.14 came out. I must have read the changelog 3 times over, just sitting in work waiting to go home. And then I got home and I just had home stuff to do. You know, I had to clean and cook and you know, well, actually eat too, and sort things and etc. 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 It's the kind of thing where it really, you know, it doesn't really end, but since we just moved, it's much more intense than it would have otherwise been. And we're thinking about all these renovation projects, and sometimes it's really hard to just take a step back and go, hold on, our plate is really full enough right now. Let's not be thinking about what needs to be fixed and what needs to be added and whatever, you know. Let's use that Tibelio motto for just, you know, maybe just a few months while we get everything unpacked. And then we can worry about, okay, well, let's fix this, and let's do this, and let's add this, and, you know, let's replace these. You know, not a single door frame in this entire house is straight. I swear to God. They're all crooked. When you shut the doors, there's a little gap at the top. outside doors notwithstanding, because the outside doors are actually fairly secure, although there is a friggin' hole down to the front door where the ants are coming in. And I feel like, I feel like Sterling Archer, but there's really nothing we've done so far to encourage the ants to be in here. They just came in and started climbing all over my coffee table like it was theirs. And I've been mightily annoyed. So I went out, I bought ant baits, and I put them down, and I watched a couple walk into the ant baits, and I celebrated. Madison was like, "Why are you yelling?" And I was like, "They're gonna eat the poison!" And yeah, and then I've seen fewer of them since then, but that was only a couple days ago, and it does take some time for them to sort of, take it back to their friends and die. The other thing is, I found a bottle of, I don't know if it's Raid or whatever the brand is, but it's pesticide sprayer. Except the sprayer doesn't really spray, it just sort of dribbles sadly. So I went outside and I tried to spray along the front door, and I just sort of dribbled along the front door. And the stairs, and then I found the anthills, which are next to the walkway, and I dumped it into the anthills. Because I was like, well, if I can't spray it, it'll just come out in a dribble. I might as well just dribble it on the anthills, because that'll kill them. So, hopefully that does in fact kill the ants. So, yeah, There are 2 anthills next to it. I assume they're linked to the same thing. Honestly, though, I don't dislike ants. I am a fan of ants, just as a creature, because they make really cool structures. And actually, did I ever have an anthill? I'm not sure if I had a functioning anthill as a kid. I might have, but if I did, it was only briefly. Either way, I love ants. I love anthills. I like there's the Ants Canada YouTube channel that I'm not subscribed to, but I will occasionally watch videos on there. Because, the guy is super entertaining, but also the ants are entertaining. Like, I don't not enjoy the ants. And I don't know, maybe I should be not enjoying the ants because they're bugs and they're gross and they're infesting my house. But they're fascinating. Maybe not even from like an interesting read standpoint, but from like a wow, look at them build sort of standpoint. When I was growing up, it was always like, ants, they're awesome, they can lift 10 times their body weight, they're incredible, they dig big holes. But the thing that they don't go over in elementary school is they're also so annoying because they just keep coming into your house. And you don't think about that when you're living with your parents, because they deal with that. And, when I was living with my dad and my stepmom, I never really noticed the ants. I noticed some spider bros, but I mostly left them alive, because it's like, you're going to kill flies and mosquitoes. I like that. You're not going to bother me. We don't have any poisonous spiders here in New England. I guess we have black widows, but, she's hot, so I can forgive that. That was a joke. She totally is. It's not really that much of a joke. What is up with this grass? What is up with this grass? Okay. I just need to get the grass to sit on the ground. I really don't care about the rest of it. I just want that bit of grass to sit in the ground. Also this. Maybe I should just put some rocks there instead of grass. I don't know what's up with this corner. Oops. This one? Yeah. Okay. I do want to trace some grass over the top of the hill here because the telegraph line is there. I don't know, so Chris did tell me when you're stringing telegraph line, you run it over the top of the mountain like this. And I get it, I guess, because, during construction you want to be able to communicate and the tunnel isn't built yet. But at the same time, I don't necessarily get it. Because once the tunnel's done, wouldn't it be easier just to relocate the cables to inside the tunnel instead of outside the tunnel? It just makes a lot more sense to me. Whoops. Get out of here. Oh wait, wrong thing. I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, but that's just what I think. Oh, so these things are acting weird, probably because of dig holes. I didn't realize dig holes make grass act weird. So, yeah. Now, the other day I had a golden conversation with literally nobody except for myself, which would have been fantastic for an under construction episode if I wanted to rant about Volvo design for, 30 minutes or so. I did it in the car on the way here from my old house. Yeah, it was really, really silly. I don't really know why I did it. I just felt a compulsion to talk about Volvo models and the evolution of the Volvo, because now I have my 940 back. I've mentioned that before in the timetable, and it's like, oh wow, this is a totally different car. It rides differently. It's the interior is so different. The 240s honestly are the 200 series, but particularly my 240 is actually fairly bare bones, and it doesn't have any insulation for road noise or what have you. But the 940s are totally different. The 940 is a luxury car. The 240 is like a family car. It's the guy, the working man's salary. He's it's the blue collar car. The 240 was, or the 200 series, and the 940 or the 900 series is like the white collar car. It is an executive car. It is very nice inside and out, and it's it rides really smooth. It has a nice sound system. It's it is well insulated from the outside. You don't hear much road noise or engine noise. It's got all the fixings in terms of gauges and stuff like that, whereas the 200 series doesn't even have a tachometer. And this isn't even stuff I touched on in my lecture. Now I'm just explaining the differences that I've noticed, that I've come across. And I mean, it is what it is. They're two very different cars, but it's just so... I didn't expect such a marked difference from one to the next. Going from my 850 to the 240, I won't call it a downgrade, but it certainly felt like, okay, yeah, this is much more bare bones. Because, well, it was 4 years older, but really the model, just the 200 series, is, at least a decade and a half older than that. The 240s were produced for a very long time. And the 260s and the, whatever, all the 200 series. When I say 240s, I mean the 200 series. You guys understand. It's just easier for me to say. And they went, at least in the US, the 300 series, and I believe there was a 500 series, and maybe even a 600 series. They didn't get a lot of traction in the US, but they did exist, and they still do exist in lower numbers in Europe. But if we look at the 200 series, that took off. The 400 series there was also a 400 series. The 700 series is the classic. The 200 series is the classic. The 700 series is the icon, and the 900 series is the luxury. I don't know. It's something. It's the step up. You get the 700 when you're a teen. the uh, 200 when you're a father of 3, and the 900 when you are a 60-year-old who is getting ready to collect his pension. I don't know. That's my thought on that, at least. These are very different. They're the same brand. They are the same. They're in the same vein, but they are very different cars for different people. Not to say that you can't overlap at all, but that's at least what my thought was. Let me pull this up real quick. Yeah, so we're running out of processor and RAM. Man, am I looking forward to upgrading. Not just my computer, but the game. Upgrading to 19. Alright, so we've got about 25 minutes left of episode. This is where I would start lightning rounding questions if I had any. Let's see. This area, yeah, this isn't like, oh, we need a culvert pipe here, although we probably kind of do. So I'm going to leave a gap in the greenery there for a future culvert pipe. Does that also need a culvert pipe? Yeah. I mean, it's just called a culvert. It's not, uh-oh. Oh, man, I did the thing that I'm not supposed to do. Oh, man. I grabbed the edge of the screen and I adjusted the size, and now we're working with 2 different video files, which is going to make it so much more difficult to put together at the end of the day. Sync. Sync. I'm not looking forward to that. I wanted to go to bed afterwards. I wanted to just set it up and go to bed afterwards. But, oh well. We'll put more grass down. We've got 20 more minutes or so. So, yeah, let me get grass and stuff up to the edge of the, up to the entrance to the tunnel. We'll do grass and we'll do shrubs. And then, I don't know what will be next. Maybe we can go and look at RJ Canyon real quick and think about what we want to put there, but we need to get past there with the trees before I actually start doing texture over there, so maybe that's not the best idea. I mean, honestly, this is like, it's Bob Ross therapeutic. It's nice to come home at the end of the day and be able to sit down and do this, although pretty much everything else takes priority. Which is the real shame, right? Because I can't just sit down and play video games all the time, even though Madison is nice enough to be a wonderful housewife and like cook me dinner, which she did the other day. She made soup. It's because she loves cooking, It's not out of the goodness of her heart. It's because she wants to do something, not make me happy. No, I'm kidding. It's a little bit of both, of course. I make sure to heap her with thanks for doing something like making me food because I want her to keep doing it because she's good at it. I'm not good at it. I can't make crap. She wanted me to bake a cake for her so that she would have, or it was brownies. It was some brownies. She wanted me to bake some brownies for her, and I was like, I don't know, because, I'm not good at that stuff. I'm just not. I haven't baked anything in, on my own in a number of years, and, well, actually, I don't think I've baked anything on my own ever. I've never just sat down and decided, I'm going to bake something, and got the ingredients and baked the thing. I have baked things with people, but most of the people have been her, so she's, my catalyst for making food. And she was like, can you please make this for me? And I'm like, I don't know. And then it got, time came around, and it's 9:30, and I'm still hanging up pictures with my dad and going, well, I I know you need to go to bed, and I have so many, I have things I have to do, and I'm, like, not going to make my sandwich for tomorrow or whatever. So, because tomorrow's a Friday, I got to get up and I got to go to the office and do my timesheet and whatever. It's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, well, what do I decide to do? Do I decide to push under construction onto Friday and then the weekend, when I know that tomorrow, might be a little bit hectic, and then the weekend, I'm working both days, like, I can't trust that. I can't, what's the word? In good conscience, I cannot push under construction another day. I want to do it on Thursday, the day it's supposed to be done. That way I can get it out of the way, get it processing, just feel good about myself, and have one less thing to worry about, and most importantly, have an actual under construction for this upcoming, stretch of time, for this week. Because of how long it's been since we've actually had one. It's super important to me to get this done. It's important to me to get this route done. This is, like I said, this is the only progress that I get on the route on a weekly basis. It's the only time that I can dedicate some time to sit down and go, yeah, I'm going to play trains right now. Without worrying about, well, yeah, but could I also be doing this and could I also be doing this? It's like, okay, this is a commitment that I have. And also, it really helps me do it, the fact that it is a commitment. It's, otherwise, I wouldn't really get a lot done on routes, I don't think. I would never set the time aside. I see it happening with horsemen. I have a scene to film, and I haven't had the time to do it, and I don't have, like, a dedicated, okay, this is horseman time to work on it. And I'm really not held accountable for it either. So, I end up doing other things. Of course, things have been particularly hectic for the past couple months or so because of everything involving the move, all the mortgage and stuff like that. But, that doesn't mean I couldn't have found time. But it's like, okay, well, what do I sacrifice if I don't have enough time? Do I like skip a meal? I don't want to do that. That would be kind of, that would be a little bit much just for making a video. Do I stay up late? I mean, I've done that. That's, been there, done that. That's not special. I can do that. But, like, I also want to have a good night's rest so that I can go to work tomorrow and feel refreshed and feel good about myself and get work done. Actually be productive. You don't want to be sitting at work like a zombie. So, what do I want to do? It's like, well, I guess I can just push this video a little bit farther because, what does it really matter if there isn't one this week? Nobody's, this isn't my livelihood. I owe it to you guys, the subscribers, to get this done, and I owe it to myself to put in time on Tolbrand. But at the same time, you gotta have your priorities. And that's something that I like to talk about a lot, and it's something I think about a lot. It's like, okay, how are my priorities looking? How straight are they? How good are they? Because it's easy to just get sidetracked. It would have been plenty easier for me to come home the other day, and instead of sitting down to eat with Madison, just been like, yeah, but actually I've been wanting to play Minecraft all day, I'm just gonna go play Minecraft, peace out. And it would have been, it would have been wrong to do that, because I'm blowing my girlfriend off who's made me food. But at the same time, it's like, okay, how often do I get the chance to just go and dick around and play Minecraft? You could justify it either way if you really wanted to, but there's clearly a better option there, because Minecraft is going to wait. Minecraft is not a person, you don't owe Minecraft anything. You want to do it, sure, but you don't need to, and it won't get pissed off if you don't. Running the server is one thing, because I had to hop on after 1.14 came out anyway. I had to update the server, I had to check on my villagers to make sure they were good, and I had to start doing some prep for whatever we're going to do next. Be that SAR or just go on a little adventure into 1.14 area. And to check on, like, my things like my villager library that had, that obviously has undergone some significant changes. It's those kind of things that are like, okay, well, the update has come out, and other people use these things, so I should pay attention to them because I owe them my time. But just getting on to play, I can sit down and eat dinner with my girlfriend instead. There's no harm done by doing that. And, you're making somebody happy. Minecraft is going to be there the next day. You got to find your priorities. If you've got time restraints, you've got time restraints. If you got people, you got people. If somebody was like, hey, Ellis, the server is broken, you need to fix this right now, I would have probably said, hey, listen, I know, I need to do this. There are people that are depending on me. And I probably would have got like an eye roll and an okay, but, the world would not have ended. It would have been unfortunate, but it wouldn't have been, cataclysmic. So you have to figure out, okay, what is a good reason for this, and what's a good reason for that? What's how to set up these priorities to make them make sense, to make them work. Ow! I've suddenly got a toothache. That's never good. Tooth pain. Tooth pain is some of the worst, most insidious pain there is, because it's so quickly that you go from, oh, my mouth feels fine, to I literally want to die. Like, I will take literally anything to end this pain, even if that something is cyanide. Like, I just wanted to stop. Because it's so close to your brain, it's so powerful, and you use your teeth and your mouth to eat all the time. It's not like you can rest it. And also, if you're me, you use it to yammer, too. You use it to run your mouth at random people on the internet. About 50 of them a week, based on the video, depending on the video. So, that's tooth pain for you. Hopefully this is just a little temporary tick. If not, I can call up my dentist and go in and see what's up. They're very good about that. But, I've had some tooth pain before, and I have one, like, crown, I think, from I believe it was a cavity. I think it might have been a cavity, or it might have just been some other issue with my tooth. Because I don't remember having a cavity, but I was probably quite young when that happened. It's in a molar, and it does, it gives me some sensitivity issues when I drink something really cold on that side, or eat a lot of sweets on that side, or, something like that. But it's not like a, oh God, kill me now sort of pain. Alright, so I just finished out all this grass here, and this is a start, right? Oh, you know what? I didn't actually fill in this gap here. This gap needs grass. So I think the next thing, so I've been looking at all the different automation things, right? And we have a few automated things along the valley line that need to get squared away before this version is released. So let's head over there real quick. I think I'll fly there. All the lines are painted blue. So the thing with the valley line is that we have all these drawbridges and such that span the line. We've got this one, which this is its own thing. This is controlled by interlocking tower, so we'll have to control that by interlocking tower, almost certainly. And then there's this drawbridge, which this can probably be controlled by ATLS. We're going to need a couple of traffic stoppers, we're going to need a couple of tram stoppers, and we're going to need, some triggers like, it's effectively a version of this, except the The connections are underwater. But we can use an invisible train to make the bridge open up. Because the actual track for the boat is not... It's just an invisible track because it's at a different height. I wish all the boat heights were standardized, but they are not. So... yeah, so there's this, and that's the last one before we get past Doe Cliff. And into Mason Valley here. We have the first drawbridge, which is this one, which is going to be open all the time unless a trolley is coming. So this one's pretty straightforward. And I mean, there really should be no point where there's a conflict with that one, so I don't have to wire that one up. This one is going to be closed all the time unless there's a boat coming. So I'm pretty sure I can wire this one up with ATLS or something similar. Actually, ATLS is probably going to be the go-to for that one. There's this one, which I know I have to wire up with ATLS because, well, it's a little bit special. Well, actually, it acts as a crossing, so I might have to wire it up with an interlocking tower. And then that's it. This bridge is fixed, and this goes into the locks over here. So, and that's what this really would have been. We would have had a lock system to raise up canal boats to go this way, I believe, and then yeah, these bridges are both too low. But something that we could do, of course, is have a small, almost like a canal feature that goes around this bridge. That's, and has just a small drawbridge here. Although the canal would be out of service. That's actually something I could do with this area here. Just to have a little bit more of a water feature here. I could cut this road back so that this actually takes a fairly sharp turn and comes in like that. Which, actually, I'm liking this idea more and more. So I think I'm going to move forward with it, because otherwise I don't know what to put in this area here. Give me this fence. So we'll have a barge canal or something, something to that effect here. Oh, excuse me. And there's a road. We'll make this and that. Straighten this. Bend this around like this. Wrong thing. Give me the road. And then I actually want this to turn another sharp turn. Whoops! No. Keep that. I need that. That's the bridge. How come this is so weird looking? Oh crap, because there's another spline point under there that I totally didn't realize was there. I suppose I was gonna say totally forgot about, and I wasn't actually sure if it was appropriate, but I suppose of course it is, because I was the one who put it there in the first place, so of course forgetting about it in this context is completely appropriate. Or having forgot about it. So, I want this. Sink that slightly. And then I want... well, actually, I want this. Oops. There we go. I just want to have enough pavement here for vehicles to realistically make that turn, but I also want some invisible road. So, invisible, garnish invisible road, high traffic. I'm just going to say no traffic, because it doesn't actually matter what these are, because only the end roads actually generate traffic. So, there's a little gap in the roadway. It's okay, it's just a little pothole. Do we have circles going on again? Where do vehicles go when they get here? Do they take a left? Oh yeah, we got circles. Oh well. We'll deal with that. Actually, I kind of would rather them go that way, but... yeah, whatever. Although, actually, what I could do, right? I could split that. Slide this guy over here, slide this guy over here. Reconnect this. Add a little stub of invisible road. Straighten it. Put this back over here. And relocate this such that it looks right. And then cars will take a right instead of a left. Cool. Okay, and so the other thing that I want to do, other than make this area slightly wider now. Oh man, I can't believe I messed that up. It's the first time in a while I've caused that issue by accidentally grabbing the bottom of the window. But, oh well, stuff happens, I guess. Still a little bit annoying. Now I made more work for myself, like a fool. Oh, crud. Okay. So, let's put this here. And then I just want to make a line, like a fairly narrow line, as a matter of fact, probably like this big at the widest. Not even smaller than that. Of this height. So, get this height. Use this height. This way. Yeah. And the only thing I can think of when I hear the words barge canal are the construction of an interstate over in Burlington, Vermont, which was halted due to the discovery of a, quote, toxic barge canal, which was directly in the way of the highway. And it was apparently hugely contaminated with heavy metals, etc., etc. And so the project had to be shelved because they had to figure out what to do with all this basically toxic waste that was in this big flooded pit in front of where the highway was going to go. And they never reached a solution, and the highway never happened. So you have a stub of a highway, which, I mean, to be fair, I'm not really sure they needed it there. But you have this stub of a highway, and yeah, I mean, that's just kind of it. It looks silly on Google Maps. Okay, so we're going to be building a thing there. This will be set up as if it's a towpath for barges, and we also may have some area over here that is old warehouses, etc., etc. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Crane Man out.